Everything you losers have been saying for years is just wrong. It's a complete lie. That's because state government workers have wrong information. That's led to other organisations having wrong information. That's gone around in circles for 11 years. That's because you listen to my mother and my ex-partner. You don't listen to me or believe what I'm saying. Everything. I've heard it come back. I'm there going, even back in 2015, but that's not true. I'm not adopted. Not dying either. Then you got New South Wales police saying, well, who had kids? I already told you had information to do with Mark Rackley and Daniel Rackley attached to me. You've been attaching information to do with Mum's ex-second husband, Mark Rackley, and his son from his first marriage, who's from South... Just goes around circles. Yes. Giovanni Craig and Salvo, my ex-partner, or should I say, is it Jonathan? Sorry, is it Johnny or is it Gio? Okay, or is it Jonathan Craig? Because his mother, Dawn Carpenter, convict Scottish, from country town South Australia, said that he changed his name when he moved to Sydney. Everyone knows him as John, Johnny, Jonathan. Okay? Don't give a shit. Must be a South Australian thing because my mum's second husband moved from Sydney to South Australia when he was a teenager. That's where he's had his first family. So my stepbrother's from there as well. But my stepbrother moved to Tamworth in 1995. My ex-stepbrother, Daniel Rackley, has kids. It's where you guys... You're going around in circles. It's like, what? I've got some of your documents. You guys are losers. Oh my God. We're going to write information in the box over here and join a line to that. I'm going to go, you're insane. I've got your nursing documents and so forth. You're insane. Mum's done little scams. Mates did little scams pretending to be a carer. You've got wrong information going on for 11 years and you projected it into immigration and makes it an international issue because I held a green card to US since 2014. Should have relied only on the information I gave you, like the statute declaration. Oh, Mum's a lying fucking bitch. A few weeks ago, I'm on the phone to her and she's lying about Big Nan, Mary. So Big Nan moved back into 43 Piper Street in 1989. Lived her life out there until we put her into a nursing home around 1994. She died in 1995. She wasn't in that nursing home long. So her knees went bad. Well, her legs were always bad. She was like, used to have to need help getting up and off, getting in and out of the chair. Too much for Uncle Fred to look after her, his sister. So her brother was already dead, but like so. Here we go. So eating ollies. Right. Her other brother, which is Matthew John Say, who I used to call Auntie Jack, Uncle Jack. He was in the same nursing home, which is in Jersey Road, Strathfield. He passed away when I was about 13. And about a year after that, Nan went into the same nursing home because they went in the same nursing home together. We weren't going to visit them both at the same time. Uncle Jack had already passed away, or Matthew John Sayer. He'd already passed away, then his sister went into the nursing home. Now, Big Nan passed away 2 years, I think, 2 or 3 years before her son, which was Brian Keegan. So Brian, my nan's brother, which is Brian who I had dinner with on Wednesday, his father. So Mum's cousin, who's the police officer, Brian Keegan, who still lives in Leichhardt, his father. Oh yeah, how do I know? Because these are the family members I grew up around. I wasn't with my mum. This is why I know so much to do with family, because I was with these family members and very rarely was ever with my mother. And she's a fucking liar. Great example is because I was, well, I would have just been an early teenager. Would have been probably about 13. But I arrived at the funeral, Uncle Jack's funeral. I was with Nan and Pop. Okay? Then I was with Nan and Pop. Pop was there. I think Pop was actually behind Mum at one stage because he was, I can tell you exactly, he's talking about how Mum riding her brake and not going back for the gears. There you go. Yeah, on the way to, I've got a photographic memory. I literally can pull information out of my mind of certain events and what was going on in that day. I've been like it my entire life. There is no memory loss. I played it. I've always been like as a kid, which is why I've never focused on ever worrying about getting a document that says, oh, you've got a degree. I'm like, big whoop, it's a piece of paper. Okay, I can learn something, recall that information and apply it to life. Never been any different. Of course, after a lot of head injuries, that's gotten, not as great as what it was when I was younger. But when I was younger, it was like, okay, teach me. Oh, I know this now. I'll go off and do it. I don't care. See, I don't care for a piece of paper. Oh my God, I've got a label. Please, that's not me. If you know me, you know that's not me. Which is why as a kid I would sit there and listen to music that I loved and what it would remind me of. I could pinpoint, for example, a verse in Tchaikovsky where it would remind me of Monet's Water Lilies and draw the two together. I just always listen to classical music and jazz. Don't get me wrong. I listen to all my genres, so 80s, 90s, and modern, 2000s and now. So I love the 80s, love the 90s, love the 2000s, love the now. So all that music I listen to because I grew up with it. But two music that I didn't grow up with, of course, is classic. Well, I grew up with it, but I'm not that time period, is what I'm trying to say. Because I wasn't born in the 1930s. So classical and jazz. So it would be nothing for you to come into my bedroom at 2 o'clock in the morning when I'm a kid and I'm up working on artwork, listening to classical or jazz. You know, might wake the whole house up when I decide to blast the album, which I wish I still had, of Tchaikovsky's Piano Concerto B flat minor. Because the sound of it, next minute, Mama burst in my room. What are you doing? I'm working on artwork. Why? Huh? If you just put your albums, I literally put my album on. I had like the massive big, like the big 80s style album with the big speakers, the big metal one. Put my vinyl on. Next minute, it's like boom, 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 and you know, whole household's jumping. Justin's. My bedroom was way at the back of the house, off the family room, off the rumpus room. Right, confirm a minute now. I'm working on artwork. Can't say I'm working on artwork. Always tried to be honest. So, you just, you dickheads just have wrong information about me, that's all. And you psychoanalyzed it when you're an idiot. Psychoanalyzing someone that's already 10 steps ahead of you? Fucking idiots. My God. That wouldn't work. Try to, it's trauma. No, I was 10 steps ahead of you saying that to me as well. Next. So let's go back to Uncle Jack's funeral. Field of Mars. Now, who's nearby is not where Big Nan and Uncle Fred is. And Big Nan and Uncle Fred weren't buried together. They was a double plot. So what happened was, Big Nan's funeral, then Uncle Fred's funeral was in 2002. What happened was that the plot, okay, was a double plot. But still being buried side by side, one on top of the other. So they changed it. So Big Nan and Uncle Fred, technically, I think it was Big Nan's grave was two. We had one person in it. And they're buried around the corner from each other in the Field of Mars. Uncle Jack's in a different section. So Uncle Jack's walking distance. Mum's other brothers are not too far behind too. So Neil and Michael, beautiful grave. Marble, like a almost like the above ground mausoleum. Marble sort of urn on it. Neil and Michael are buried in the same tomb. I was there once when I was a kid and it was cracked and you could see the coffin. So it's like in the ground, but it's a tomb above the ground there. It's where I was there with Uncle Fred, actually, Leo Faxixaya. And I was joking around and he's walking past the graves. He's going, "Excuse me." I did the same thing and Mum said, "Don't be so rude." I'm like, but Uncle Fred was doing it. Photographic memory. So, this day we're driving. I'm with Reg and Lola, Nan Pop. We're going to the cemetery. It was the day that Auntie Mari wore, I think it was a maroon outfit with a bowler hat. Like I said, photographic memory. Auntie Mari used to have a cane, and sister. She wore the bowler hat. I'm sure it was maroon in colour. She walked past Reg, my grandfather, and he said, We've got to stop dying. There's no, there'll be, we don't, if we keep, no, we keep meeting like this, there'll be none of us left. That's what Reg said. I was about 13. Mum drove in front. And Pop said about Mum, the way she's riding that brake and not changing back in her gears. I went to the funeral with Nan and Pop. Breaking Lola. Amanda went with Mum. I was always with the older ones. With my grandparents, great-grandmother, great aunties, and so forth. So, it was Uncle Jack first, Matthew John Sayer. Then Big Nan passed away. So Mary passed away around 1995. I was 16. I was about 18 when Uncle Brian passed away. Nan's brother, who's Brian Keegan's father. Mum's cousin Brian Keegan, police officer. I was 23 when Uncle Fred passed away, which is Leo Patrick Sayer. He passed away around August, I think it was, about, well, it was only a few months before Reg did. Because Pop Reg, he passed away November 2002 in Concord Hospital. So, there's timeline. So Mum's still up to a bullshit line. So again, Big Nan Mary moved back home to 43 Piper Street, Leichhardt, in 1989. It's before Mum moved. Okay. Still the argument over Mum marrying her second husband. Okay, so she moved back there. Lived a life out there. We grew up going to visit Nan at the place that was her place because Uncle Fred didn't live in there. He owned it as an investment. He lived in it when he was an old man. So Uncle Fred brought Leichhardt as an investment when he was living in Bellevue Hill. Well, actually, technically it was Woollahra. He lived in 33 Edgecliff Road, Woollahra, but I wasn't born then. We're going back to the time like when the war was on. That's where he lived, and then he lived in London. So he was living in between. So he was in Australia. He was in Woollahra, just down the road from his mother's sister's house, so his auntie's house. So his two aunties lived in Bellevue Hill. So it was his mother. So okay, my mother's gonna stand up and go, Uncle Fred was adopted. Okay, can I just confirm something? Uncle Fred, why we call him Fred instead of Leo, is because the whole family members call him Fred is because May, which is my Nan Lola, okay, Nan Lola's grandmother Julia's sister May. So there's three daughters. Okay, if I have to go back through my family history, there's three daughters. Their parents is Bridget Dufresne and Matthew Joseph Ryan. They had three daughters. Julia Ryan, May Ryan, and Annie Ryan. Julia Ryan married George Sayer and moved to Wellington. May Ryan married several husbands, was really rich, one of them being a Goff, and had Uncle Fred. He was Frederick Goff. Annie Ryan became Annie William Shawkner. May Goff and Annie William Shawkner lived in Bellevue Hill. This can also be confirmed by Mum's cousin, the police officer, who still lives in Leichhardt. Okay? This could also be confirmed by Sharon Newcomb, who passed away last year, Mum's cover cousin, or Sharon Newcomb's husband, Chicker, Charles Newcomb. They're from Leichhardt. Okay? That can be confirmed. Okay? That can be confirmed by these people. But it also could have been confirmed by Reg or Lola or Big Nan and Uncle Fred. So Uncle Fred was originally Mad Auntie May's. Why was she called Mad Auntie May? Not because she was crazy, but because she was very rich. She had very eccentric, had her racehorses in Randwick, was not one to like children. But her husband, which I can't think of what his first name is, the Goff one, he was, I can show you actually. Damn, 1 minute. Let me pause this just to back myself up with proof. Myself being closest to these family members. So May Goff had several husbands. They were all very rich and they all died. I went to my Nan Lola and said, why do you call her Mad Auntie May? She says, well, she killed all her husbands. I'm like, did she name with a smirk? Goes, well, Justin, they were all extremely rich and they all died, leaving it all to May. That's my great uncle Fred when he was young. I adored him. I grew up with him. He passed away when I was 23 years of age, I spent every single Tuesday with him. He was the most loveliest man you'd ever meet in your entire life. A snob. Holy fuck, was he a snob. He was the biggest snob you would ever meet in your life, and so was his sister, my great-grandmother. Posh and snobbery. And they used to go dancing. I've got the photo. They used to go dancing up the Chevron. They practically lived at the always going dancing out for dinner at the Chevron. The Hilton by Chevron. Anyway, that's him. I've got to get this looked at before it falls apart. So this is the one that was sent. I can't read my glasses. There you go. Look. Fred Goff. And it's got the address where his mother, my nan's grandmother, lived in Wellington. Alright, okay. So his mother, he called his mother, is Julia Sayer. Technically, his mother is May Goff. He's a Goff. So, he was actually my great-grandmother's cousin and became my great-grandmother's brother. It's a lot of that in my family, which my mother would know. So, he was originally Frederick Goff, and he was the son of May Goff, which is my nan's grandmother, Julia Sayer's sister, May Goff from Bellevue Hill, and his auntie lived in Bellevue Hill as well, and that was Annie Williams Shawkner. My grandmother, Lola May Keegan, used to travel to see her cousin, which is Gary Williams, not the Williams on my dad's side, the Williams on my mother's side. She would take the tram from Leichhardt to Bellevue Hill and get off and meet her grandmother, which is Julia Sayer, and stay at Julia Sayer's sister's house, which is Annie Williams Shawkner. Annie Williams Shawkner's son is Tommy Williams. So Tommy Williams is my great-grandmother's cousin. Okay? Oh, how do I know this? Because, Jesus Christ, these people were alive when I was alive. My God. Brian Keegan, Mum's cousin, who I had dinner with last Wednesday, a police officer, his mother passed away around, what was it, the end of 2003? Was it, I don't know, for August, November 2003, somewhere like that. Probably November 2003. Mick Mennings did the funeral. The priest came out of retirement for the church in Balmain, and that was for Margaret Keegan. I think Margaret Keegan's maiden name's O'Brien. Anyway, they're all from Bellevue Hill. My mum, when mum was born in Darlinghurst, her parents were still living at Mansfield Road. Okay? Sorry, Balmain. Sorry, that side was from Balmain. Sorry. The Keegans and the Purdy's and the O'Briens. So that side of mum's family. Now, I'm like, what was I? 24 years of age when she passed away. I'm an adult. Why wouldn't I know the information when they're still alive, you fucking dickheads? So I'm at the funeral, I'm at Margaret Keegan's funeral, and I'm talking to Gary Williams, my grandmother Lola May's cousin, and I'm talking about his grandmother, Annie Williams Shawkner, and I'm talking about her house in Bellevue Hill, because my nan used to love it. Okay, he's probably dead now, but I'm still 24 years of age talking to my Nana Lola's cousin, and we're talking about his grandmother, and we're talking about Mad Auntie May. Okay, how do I know this? Because I was with these people, my twin sister Amanda wasn't. Massive difference. So it came straight from the horse's mouth because they were alive, you fuckwit. I've literally in the last 11 years had people go, did you get that from Ancestry.com? These people are from fucking Tamworth, you losers. Ancestry.com. Hello? Ancestry. Why? The person was alive. Same as Dad's uncle, Uncle George Hill. Anything that I know about them, it's all from Nan, Ruby Jean Fleming, her brother, Uncle George Hill. Uncle George Hill didn't pass away until what? Was it 2014 or 2013? Like, I'm in my 30s before my great uncle's passing away. So, next minute, because I put all this for immigration, they're like, where'd you get it from? From the family members themselves. They were still alive. From them themselves. When I asked them questions about their mother or their grandparents, I got it from them themselves because they were still alive. Like Dad's uncle, my great uncle, just passed away really not that long ago. It was 11 or 12 years ago. They were still alive. you fuckwits. You're just projecting your dumb, useless life onto other people, thinking that, oh, you just grew up with parents. No, I didn't. I grew up with greats, great uncles, great aunties, okay, great cousins, second cousins, great grandmother. You grew up your way. I grew up my way. They're completely different lifestyles. Completely fucking different lifestyles. So your lifestyle, you can't project onto me when it's completely fucking different. I'm a different person. So these are losers, man. Honest to God. Like the bullshit out of some people's mouths. So yeah, they were alive. So yeah, Nan Cybers from part of Nan Cybers from Bellevue Hill. Nan's grandmother moved with her husband to Wellington, which is where the racing industry was, where her sisters stayed around Randwick, where the racing industry was. They all owned racehorses. Annie Williams Shulk owned racehorses, and Mad Auntie May Goff owned racehorses. She was renowned to be at Randwick. She was made that we were like, Nan used to say, oh, she used to walk up to her husband, she's like, she wanted more betting money. She's betting on the hacks, which you can't do. But she did. So she had a racing horse in that was hers and she's betting on it. Which, technically you can't do. But Nan's like, oh, she did. Oh, God, she had more height than Jessie's. That's what my Nan's favourite saying was. So she'd be there with her auntie. So Mad Auntie May. And she'd go up to her husband. She's like, I've given you betting. She goes, no, what was it? I need money to pay the electric light bill. And something like this. And be like, I gave that to her. Oh, you stupid man. No, you didn't. And that's what Nan said she used to watch her auntie do. Oh, she used to go and buy a dress, put it in the closet, wear it like brand new, come out. She goes, "Is that new?" Oh, you stupid man! I've had this for years. Yeah. Nan used to tell me what her auntie used to do. Anyway, she used to bet on her own horses up at Randwick. So that's Nan's side. They were heavily involved in racing, and then Nan married someone that was heavily involved in paces and trotters. Racing, all from Sydney. So, again, Uncle Fred, yes. Okay, Uncle Fred's was, so my great-grandmother Mary's cousin and became her brother. But my mother, being a little cunt bitch that she is, used to be all the time, oh, Uncle Fred's adopted. And my nan would be like, oh, all right, Carol, shut up. That's what Lola used to do to my mum. All right, shut up, Carol. You don't know the half of it. That's what my nan used to go. And I asked Nan, what happened? She goes, it was May's. He was May's, and then when May lost her husband, because she didn't want kids, she put him up for adoption, and her sister adopted him. It's like, oh. It's like, your mother doesn't listen. I'm not going to sit down and explain something to your mother the way she mouths off. It's exactly what Lola used to say. I'm not going to tell you fuck it. Like, not fucking, friggin'. She used to always say, I'm not going to tell your mother. It was the same old shit with Mum, because Mum was a loser. She's a loser. The way she mouths off. Mum would be all right. Like Uncle Fred doesn't want it. He doesn't like it. He doesn't want it that known. As far as he's concerned, okay, May was his auntie. Julie is his mother. Big Nan Mary is his sister, not his cousin. That's it. So shut up, Carol. As soon as Carol finds out information, it's like, She's a fucking, my mum's a fucking loser. Have you met her? Have you met her? She's a fucking, a deadbeat, pathetic fucking loser the way she carries on. Have you fucking met the scumbag bitch? Seriously. So I grew up with my nan and my pop. Fuck, my mother's a fucking loser. I swear to God. That's what she was doing. Uncle Fred's adopted. Oh, all right, Carol, shut up. That's what nan and pop used to say to her. I just went straight to her. I said, so what happened? It's like, yes, Justin, he was technically your big nan's cousin. And, so when May lost her husband, that's why his name was Frederick, May put him up for adoption and Julia adopted him. Okay? There. Like, it's a bit different between myself and the scummy little shit women in my family, where I used to sit with the family members and be like, so what happened there? Why was that? Okay, how did you end up in Wellington then? Oh, the racing industry. If you're going to make it in the racing industry, and back in those days, like 100 years ago, you moved to Wellington, New South Wales. That's where all the racing starts were. It's like, oh. And her father was a jockey. Her mother was a seamstress. Okay, simple. There's an explanation, because all your family's in Sydney. It's like, we're all from in the city, but they're also in Wellington. Lam would say. So the ones that were in the city went to Wellington. Okay, and then like the same thing. Oh, you end up in the suburbs. When we moved to the suburbs, Justin, you were somebody. You were nobody living in the city back then. And Nan hated it. She goes, I didn't want to be a nobody. It was beautiful. Your mum got to go to tennis lessons, ballroom dancing lessons, and have horses. If we stayed living in the city, we would be nobodies. The dynamics changed. That's it. It was a brand new, she goes, Nancy, it was a brand new subdivision. You look at people now that move to subdivisions, okay, it was a brand new subdivision. We were the second owner of a brand new build. The first owner wasn't in the house for a year. We got a brand new build in the suburb. I didn't want to raise a family in a tiny terraced house in the city. Okay, we had enough room to have stables at the back of the house. Front yard, backyard, stables. Your mother had a beautiful life growing up and now she's carrying on with, oh, poor me bullshit. Okay? The shopping centre was built. There was an enclosed shopping centre. The self-serve was air conditioned. You didn't see any of that in the city. You didn't have any of this. It was a beautiful lifestyle. And same as Dad's parents that moved from the city to Parramatta in, I think it was like 1953. They moved to the Federation Homes there in Parramatta, which is all gone. It's all big apartment buildings now. That's how they ended up from the city to the suburbs. But why isn't any family in the suburbs? Because it was only those people that moved. I keep saying this. Great example of this is, okay, Ruby Jean Hill, my dad's mum. Well, she's born in Five Dock. She's raised in Abbotsford. Her father's technically from Dunedin, New Zealand, but when he was young, they moved to Woollahra in Sydney, which is why he's married in Woollahra. The reason being why my dad's grandparents were married in Woollahra is because that's where his grandfather was living. So he was married in the church that my grandfather was part of in Woollahra. Ada Gray, my dad's grandmother, was from Abbotsford. So then they end up moving to Abbotsford, to a big house in Abbotsford, a massive house, and raised a huge family. There was like so many siblings to do with Frank and Ada. So Frank and Ada Hill, which is my dad's grandparents, there's so many. There's like, I'd probably be related to people and not know it because they had a massive, huge family. One of them being the two that I know, which was Uncle George and my Nan Ruby. So if I ever asked my Nan Ruby that information to do with her parents, she'd tell me. If I ever asked Uncle George, he told me Uncle George stayed with me in Surrey Hills when I lived in Surrey Hills. So how do I know this? Well, I asked Nan, I asked her brother. So when Nan moved to the Parramatta area with her husband, Stanley Fleming's from Botany Bay but not born in Australia, she was the only family member that moved because the other family members stayed around the inner city suburbs of Sydney, and then she raised her family in the suburbs, and then when they were all grown up they moved to the Central Coast. Now her family was still around Leichhardt when she moved to the Central Coast, and if my mother mouths off fucking again, someone slap her across the fucking face because she needs it. Everything out of her fucking mouth is bullshit. Simple fact is that when my grandfather Stanley was dying, he rang Uncle George Hill up. And Uncle George Hill's gay as well. And he was living with his partner, Uncle John, for over like 50 years they were together. And that was in Leichhardt. And he said, I need you guys, because he's the gay one of the family, so no kids. So my grandfather Stanley was close to his brother-in-law who was gay. So there's none of this homophobic in my family because there's so many homosexuals that they were used to homosexuals in the family. So Stanley, my pop, who was very close to his brother-in-law who was a homosexual, rang his brother-in-law and said, I'm dying. He was going in for more surgery for the cancer that he had, or it was under the dust board of I think he had no lungs left or something. He was one of the first asbestos cancer victims, but it was never identified as asbestos cancer. It went under the dust board, unfortunately. So years later, after my pop died, he was one of the first ones who died of asbestos cancer, but it wasn't recognised. The court case hadn't been then, and he was unrecognised as dying of asbestos cancer. It was asbestos cancer, but they put it down as being under the dust board. He was dying, and he rang his brother-in-law up and said, I'm not going to make it out of this operation. He didn't. He died in surgery. He said, I know, I'm not going to make it out of this operation. Can you move up here to the Central Coast to be close to your sister? He was living in Leichhardt still, which is around the area that he grew up in. So my dad's side is all from the inner city as well. Okay, so Uncle George Hill and his partner John. I don't know what John's surname is. Anyway, John, they moved. So Nan and Pop was at 23 Bangalow Street, Etsalong Beach, close to the water. Her brother moved further. I think maybe even close to Ocean Beach Road side. But her brother was like not too far, like 2 blocks away. So that's why he moved from the city, inner city, to the Central Coast to be close to his sister. So if his sister needed anything, because the way the household was run at my dad's place was a very old school European, is what my nan Lola, so my mum's mum, used to say, very old school, because your dad's father's a lot older than Reg. So my dad's parents are a lot older than my mum's parents, and very old school the way the household was run, and that's what caused a lot of trouble with your parents, because your dad tried to run the household the same way when you guys were growing up, and it's not done that way. So very strict, where a man runs everything and you have to ask. So basically, this is what my nan Lola, who adored my dad's mother Ruby, if they went grocery shopping, everything was budgeted. And I'm just saying what was said, because when I asked Uncle George, he said you couldn't get a more loving man and your nan's best friend. I remember Pop well, but still, he was a dark, arrogant European. Right? He's arrogant, dark olive skin, black hair, very arrogant. Or some even said, like Uncle George said, Arabic. But anyway, that was his attitude. So Dad's father. So he had that, and he always had that strict attitude. And if you're going grocery shopping, it doesn't matter how much money he had, and he had plenty of money, because when he died, there was, like they lived like they were poor. And he must be a coffee drinker. So Pablo's coffee, you used to go there and have, and then you used to drink it out of a teacup, but you have to boil it on the stove. God, that. My Uncle Tony Pincham, Dad's brother-in-law, would say, God, that was so strong. Your teaspoon would stand up in it. It's like Arabic coffee. Like literally, it was in a tin called Pablo's, and you'd literally, it was so granular that you'd be boiling up in the stove, almost like you would Lebanese coffee, and they would drink that coffee. So I used to have that coffee at my nan and pop's. That 2 things I remember from 3 actually: the smell of mothballs in the linen press, the coffee, that strong as coffee that would be like a paint stripper, and lemon curd. 4. Nan's mayonnaise. Nan's beautiful homemade egg mayonnaise. And of course the beautiful spreads. So if you go to Ruby's, my grandmother's, if you go to the Fleming's house, you would have a dining table set with silverware, linen tablecloths, linen napkins. You would have cut glass. You would have everything. Nothing would be sitting on the table in, say you had something store-bought. It wouldn't be in the store-bought jar going, oh, pass me that sauce. No, it will be out of that bottle in a condiment jar, in a condiment bottle. Nan used to make everything from scratch. So she used to make beautiful mayonnaise, but everything. You'd sit there and you'd sit and have a proper hot lunch. Very British lunch, actually. My nan used to do very hot. It was very nice. I used to go and see my nan a lot for lunch, even after, after Pop passed away. When I was going to visit my dad. Okay, pause what I was going to say, but when I was going to visit my dad at Empire Bay, my nan and I was living with my mum's parents. I was always with my mum's parents. I'm like, I'm going up this week to see Dad, and Nan's like, hang on a minute, you going to see your father? I'm like, yeah. She goes, all right. And she goes on the phone. She goes, Ruby, it's Lola, love. How are you? It's like, see, my nana and both my nanas, so I'm from the first marriage, used to communicate. So even after Mum and Dad divorced, my nan Ruby used to send my nan Lola Christmas cards. My nan Lola used to send my nan Ruby Christmas cards back and forth. They used to sit on the blower together, on the phone. Like, I would come home and Nan's like, oh, hang on. He's just walked in. And I'm like, who are you talking to? Your nan, love. So they stayed in touch. So my nana Lola kept in touch with my dad's mother and my dad's older sister, Sandra. Okay. My dad's older sister, Sandra's husband, Barry Johnson, kept in touch with my mum's father, Reg. And they'll be, so even after my dad divorced my mum in the 80s, it'll be nothing for me to walk into my mum's parents' house and there's Uncle Barry from my dad, who's their daughter's first husband's sister's husband. That's how our families were. And then, of course, mum's cousin lives around my dad's side on the Central Coast. It's all intertwined. It's all intertwined. And if you're trying to make sense of it all, you're not going to. So I'll be going up to visit Dad's, Hillcrest Road, Empire Bay. Dad wasn't talking to his mother at the time. And Nan's like, all right, Ruby, he's here. You're going to leave now? I'm like, yes. So as you go into your Nan's, I'm like, so how long? I'm like, I'm leaving now. I'll be there in an hour. So then I'll ring Dad and say, oh, Dad, I'm not leaving until the afternoon, so I'll be there at dinner. Because I didn't want to cause any arguments. I didn't want Dad to get upset, to think that I was a traitor towards him and visiting his mother. And I did not want to not see my Nana. So I kept seeing my Nana. Okay, which is how at my dad's 50th in 2006, I went to my Nana's house. This is why I know all the information to do with the Fleming side as well. And I went over to my Nana's house and my dad's older sister Sharon was there. And so I used to miss these cousins, like ships in the night. So I went over to Nana's house in 23 Bangalow Street, that's along beach. And I was like, Nan, I'm doing a birthday party for Dad for his 50th. And Nana, Ruby said, oh, love, your father doesn't want me there. I asked my dad's mum. I felt so sad. Like I find they were arguing and so forth because, because Nan had a toy boy. That's why. After Pop died, she had a toy boy that was a good 15 years her junior. And anyway, I did. So Sharon was there and Auntie Sharon said, can I come? I said, of course you can. And Auntie Sharon came and she brought family photos and so forth to Dad's 50th. The Johnsons were there, of course, because Shane, the one that looks like a short little Greek, Rebecca and Brooke and so forth, because Dad was always in touch with his older sister, Sandra. So there was a divide in the family. Dad and Sandra went and disowned their parents. There's all this that goes in my family. So it wasn't just my father, which my mother keeps telling people. My dad took his older sister Sandra's side. Sandra never spoke to her mother again, which meant my dad. So Sandra's the oldest, my dad's one of the youngest. So one of the younger ones went with the older one, never spoke to his mother again. That's what happened. Dad was doing what his older sister did. Okay? And never spoke. Now, when his older sister was dying of cancer, her mother, my grandmother Ruby, didn't even go and see her. That's true. Nan's got her reason, and I spoke to Nan. Okay, so I'm neutral. And I'm like Switzerland in all this. With all the arguing with both sides of the family, I'm neutral. Doesn't, with it all. So this rubbish now that I'm the one that the daggers are in, it's like, seriously? Because this goes long before I was even born. This is a family feud. This is family issues that to do with conflicts and so forth that even were going on before I was born. Okay, so let's go back to the information to do with Pop. Okay, we've been, so I can circle back around. So Stanley Fleming being very old, arrogant, pig-headed, rude European, which he was, but he was a very loving, caring man, according to my dad's Uncle George Hill. So he was just very old school. I mean, he was raised by Edith Kavanagh in Botany Bay. He was strict piano lessons. He was strict disciplined, and he was one of the orphan ethnic boys that were from the boats. The other guy that Edith Kavanagh raised was Maltese. Now, I'm not going to speculate to what nationality Uncle George Hill said his brother-in-law was, but you can have a good hard look at my dad's side of the family, and we all flicker a bit of ethnic, so it's all up to you. Anyway. If Pop was going grocery shopping, yes, I'm circling back around to that. And he would stick. He goes, okay, we've got everything on there in the list. It's all added up. This is what it costs. Okay. Now, if something's not on the list, if we're like, but we can afford it, it doesn't matter. It's not on the list. We've budgeted. You might have plenty of money. You can have triple the amount of grocery money with you, but you're only going to use 1/3 of it. We've already decided we're only going to use 1/3 of the budget of grocery money this week, and we're going to keep the rest of it aside. But no buts. That's the way it is. See, that's how hard my dad's father was. That's how hard my own father is. My own father, we mean with money, like a Jew, extremely mean with money. My dad's father was the same. My dad's the same. Doesn't mean they don't have it. It means that they watch it and won't spend it. It means they'll die holding their sacks of gold. That's what the Flemings are like. So, Stan was the same. So my dad's mum needed, say she was one comment that my grandmother Lola used to say about my grandmother Ruby. If your Nana Ruby needed new underwear, she would have to ask for it. Because he handled everything. They're like counts in their towers, counting their gold every night. All the Fleming men are the same. The household's asleep. We're getting out our bank statements. We're getting out our checkbooks. We're looking at how much money we've got. We all sit up, looking at accounts, and then go to bed. They all do it. Watch Dad do it. Okay, I've been guilty of doing it. Stanley Fleming did it when he was alive, and he's just something that is in the Fleming men. It's like, oh, this has happened. Great. How much is that going to cost? Well, we can't fix it yet. You've got the money for it. Oh, no. Well, that money you can't touch. Why not? No reason what, but you just can't touch it. It has to sit there. See, I had the same issue with my ex-partner, Giovanni, where he's like, but there's all this money there. It's like, just forget that it's even there. Imagine it's not there. It's not there. Okay? It's not there. We budget for this. And it used to piss my ex-partner off like you wouldn't believe. It's like, but we could be going off and doing this. It's like, well, we're not, because here's the budget. This over here doesn't exist. Just forget about it. Put it out of your mind. It's exactly what the Fleming men do. My dog needs me. I'm going to stop this video for a moment. So one of the common things that the Flemings used to do, for a great example, is Stanley Fleming's going to bed, so TV's off. If you want the TV on, leave the money on the fridge. Now, I was sitting at my dad's house watching TV. Dad's going to bed. Giovanni can tell you, we're sitting there in the family room. Dad's going to bed. Good night, guys. Boom. Complete darkness. It's almost like cut-off switch. Dad's turning everything off. Good night. It's like, so we're going to bed. Unless you want to leave the money on the fridge to pay the power bill. They're Jews. They're Jews, basically. So that's how that they are. Giovanni went to my Auntie Linda and was telling her. It's like, and they're going, so Auntie Linda's kids, like, Giovanni's like, who does that? And then my cousin's there going, it's because we're Jews. Well, they're Jews, basically, like, in how they, with money. So Fleming side. Hey, Buff. Come on. So, yeah. So there's the facts. I love how losers who say, oh, but we know Justin. No, you don't. I've never let you get to know me. You know, a hair fracture. But I've met your mum. Big whoop. You met my mother and my half-caste piece of shit sister that she had with her second husband. Then you definitely don't know me. People who actually know me start knowing my dad's side. Like I let John do. The first partner I had, I was like, well, we're like-minded, John. Like, really, like, we're sitting down having conversations. Like, this isn't just a sexual relationship. Like, we actually are like-minded. We've got very similarities. You know, this is John Cabino. I was like, maybe. So the first person he actually met was my father, Mark Fleming. But, yes, you are a sport. You feel better. You must, because the tail's wagging 100 miles an hour. I'm going to upload this and do another video after this one. Because Buffhead is feeling better. Do you feel better after that little nap and something to eat? Yes.